All right, Jesus, for the love of God. Once again, Jason here. The battle continues. The video in question, as the title card has already announced, is in fact Front Toward Enemy. This came yesterday. I had held off on getting this. I don't know why. I guess I thought I could live without it. I wasn't necessarily waiting for any reviews or good, bad, or indifferent, this, that, or the other. But I guess I finally decided when it comes to tactical Vietnam stuff, I got nothing. I mean, I've got this crappy... It's actually fun, but I mean, there's not a lot of depth to it. There's this thing, there's that. And I guess, you know, Lock and Load has something available. And I'm not against that, but I don't have it. So I picked this up. And thought, you know, I think this might be the one. So let's take a look through it. I'm going to go quickly through the contents and spend a little less time on that and a little more time on what these contents are and represent. You get a little baby 6-sider and a 10-sider. That's his uncle, a little 10-sider. So we have, as you might imagine, a couple of maps. We'll do those first. And the map artwork on here is done very well. Nice sizable maps. Yeah. It's your typical Vietnam terrain. Nothing surprising there. And then here's your other map. I haven't checked to see if any of the scenarios combine these maps together, but I guess I'll find out. I think we have 8 scenarios. Actually, there's a counter sheet there for you. This would be some information counters. There's the front. There's the back. That's one sheet. Keep count here. Another counter sheet with more information counters and some bad guys, or I guess good guys, depending on which side you sympathize with. Got one guy here that's going to pop out. There's some troops for you there. The front and the back. And there's an errata counter sheet. The ones originally included had some incorrect information printed on them, so this was added to the game. You want to use these, right? And then your charts. You've got a terrain effects chart, fire attack procedure, and target effects table. And then on the back you have some more information. Fire request table, random event table, medevac request table, among other things. You're going to get 2 of these, one for each player. You have an evade and escape chart, daytime ambush chart, helicopter load manifest, victory point track and turn track, ambush and extraction chart, season secure chart. Then we have our scenarios, or as they call them in the game, fragmentary orders. One called Defend Until Relieved. And I really like the style in which these are done, looks-wise. Eagle Flight. Attack. And Block. Search and Destroy, of course. Reconnaissance and Force. That is the contents. Well, actually, that's not all. We also have, again, there's the front of the game, there's the back of the box, if that means anything to anybody. And we're looking at a medium complexity and medium solitaire suitability. Here's the engine of the game. This is the most important aspect, in my opinion, of the game. That would be the rule book. Let me try and bring you down here. how it's best to do this. So we have an introduction, and when it comes to scale, it looks like each turn takes about, in real time, represents about 5 minutes, and each hex is about 15 meters across. And I was initially suspect of those, of that information, most specifically regarding movement and the amount of ground that can be covered and the amount of time allotted, but it all works out. I was just having a brain blip. They give a description of the game and a summary of the major rules. Now when it comes to the units, so here's a typical unit, right? You have the fire rating here, and then the superscript is the range, and then the troop quality. That is for a typical infantry unit. Then we hop into how to read the counters, setup and sequence of play. The sequence of play consists of placing reinforcements followed by activation phase, execute fire missions, check casualties, check for concealment, and end of turn. Then it breaks down all those. The activation phase, to be honest with you, I like it. I like what it does. It's very simple. It's also very familiar. This isn't the first game to do this in the way it does. You have a number of chits for each side, the number specified by scenario, and you pull a chit, whichever nationality you pull, that's who goes, etc. Same platoon actually does the exact same thing. And when it comes to activating units, there's a number of things you can do. You can move, you can fire, assault, something called search, which is adds some flavor to the game, recover, destroy cache, and that's for the Americans only, request medevac, that's for the American leaders only, and request fire mission. Then it also lists things that vehicles can do, and they can perform up to 2 actions, and those are listed therein. You have your terrain effects chart, all you need to know about movement, which is all very familiar and straightforward, nothing new there. You have something called stealthy movement, which to my understanding is similar to the assault move concept in ASL. You move 1 hex, you get a modifier. Helicopter movement, transporting infantry units, immobilized vehicles, and then your fire combat, right? So fire in here is done a little differently than you might imagine. The fire rating that I showed you, for instance, a unit with a fire rating of 3, you will need to roll a 1 die 10. Any modifiers will affect the die roll, not the fire rating. And you want to roll, at least here it says, you want to roll less than or equal to that rating. And then when I look at the examples for fire, all of the examples lead me to believe that you want to roll less than that rating, not less than or equal to. So I will need to verify that for myself. But it's an interesting concept. You just look at the counter, you roll a die, and then if you get a hit, you roll according to the troop quality on a combat results chart. Now, let's see, combat results run the gamut from KIA to WIA. Those are killed in action, wounded in action. And many of these counters, specifically counters that have 4 or 3-man unit to a side, you're going to flip it such that it, in essence, loses a step. If it's already if it's less than 3 figures on a side, or if it's already flipped, the counter is essentially removed. But what I'm getting at is there's essentially 2 steps for many of the counters in here. You have a result of broken, you have suppressed, and you have possible suppression. Then it goes into killed in action and wounded in action. It's a combat losses. And then it talks about what fun to come. Carrying KIAs and WIAs, literally. There's going to be times when you need to carry off your killed and wounded. Talks about that. Then it goes into assault. So I like the combat mechanism, by the way. It goes into assault, and then it talks about some actions. Now, again, one of these actions that piqued my interest was search. And an infantry unit in a hex with a hidden cache, now this can include tunnels, foxholes, bunkers, and the like, may conduct a search action. And again, you're going to use that troop quality check and roll against that to determine if you're successful or not. And then you go in, you can do a recover action, and that's essentially like rallying. You can destroy a cache as the Americans. I've already gone over all this in the what you can do as actions. But it breaks all those down for you. Another interesting concept that they have in the game is check casualties. And whenever you have a wounded in action marker, you're going to roll a die, literally to determine if that wounded becomes killed. It's pretty stark stuff, but I guess realistic. Your medics are in here, and they're treated quite subtly and effectively. If a medic is in the same hex as a wounded infantry counter, the casualty check die roll is modified by -1. Concealment's in here, and as you might hope or imagine, random events are in here. Some more spice and flavor for the game. Those run the range of, based on a D10 roll, with 9 and 10 being no event, injury, low ammo, hero, rally, higher HQ, check fire, aerial observer or NVA artillery, AH-1 Cobras, which were just massive attack gunships, or VC, and then it breaks down all of those. Opportunity fire, of course, is in here, and it is nothing new other than units attempting to perform opportunity fire perform a troop quality check. And I think that's a similar concept to the Band of Brothers tactical system. Also, I'd like to do, as a side note, a whole video on opportunity fire, how games deal with it, games that don't deal with it, and the first game to come up with opportunity fire, I'm not sure who that was. Was that Panzer Blitz or Panzer Leader? I'm not sure. I'll have to research that. We've got dummy units, hidden caches, bunkers, foxholes, booby traps, and claymore mines. NVA sappers, and you also will need to deal with civilians at various times in the game. Breaks down victory conditions. There's a victory point chart, as well as designer notes. And he goes into plain and thanks, and a fairly extensive bibliography, and I don't know to what extent he pulled from this, but I guess he felt it was significant enough to list. And again, there are a number of things listed there. So this is a game designed by Joe Chacon, and that is the same gentleman that designed, should be the same gentleman that designed this Grand Tactical Series game. Also developer Nick Richardson, map art Jordan Worley, counter art and box art Nicholas Scooby. He's done a lot of stuff. A number of play testers, of course, proofing Hans Cording, and I keep seeing this name, Hans Cording. Don't know who the guy is, but I see him all over the place. Does a lot of work behind the scenes. All right, that's the game. Seems like it's going to be good stuff. There's nothing in there that should prevent you from hopping in here fairly quickly. Shouldn't be too much head scratching when it comes to the rules. And I would recommend this. I mean, again, there's not a lot of choices when it comes to Vietnam tactical stuff, at least worthwhile choices. So the space on your shelf that's listed Vietnam tactical, dust that off, grab this and stick it on there. Actually, put it on your table first. But it's worth picking up. All right? I'll talk to you guys next time I talk to you, and remember to stay safe, and cheers.